class. Today we're going to be talking about creating a mobile-friendly site design. And we've already kind of integrated that throughout the course. But something I wanted to discuss with you is the fact that Google actually searches for websites now and ranks websites with mobile-friendly site designs higher than websites that aren't designed for mobile viewing. So if your website does not have specific settings in it that change your website based on the screen size that somebody is viewing it on, then you're less likely to show up in a Google search. So, recent statistics show that 55% of web users are accessing information on mobile devices, compared to 44.5% who are using a desktop computer. We can expect those numbers to continue changing in favor of mobile devices, so designing sites that work properly on such devices is a required skill for web design professionals. So in this project 6, you will be creating a mobile-friendly website. A couple of things to keep in mind when you're designing for mobile is the mobile first principle, where you design the site first so that people can view it on their cell phones easily, and you can have vertical scrolling, and then you expand the page as the screen sizes get larger and you can change the layout. So let me show you a little bit about what that looks like. This is on the W3 Schools website, and it's called HTML responsive. So this page talks about building responsive mobile-friendly websites, or if you talk about responsive pages, they respond based on the screen size or the viewing size of the browser. So I'm going to drag this little browser over all the way to the right, and you can see that all of the elements of this site are stacking vertically, and I scroll vertically to look at the site. If there were any images in here, they would take up the full width of the screen. Now, as I expand my screen size or my screen width, notice at some point, which looks like it's around 620 pixels wide, it jumps from that vertical stacking layout to a column layout. So we have 3 columns in our main section now, with a header up at the top. And as I expand that, those columns also scale to get wider. Okay, so that's what we're talking about when we are discussing responsive design. It used to be fine to design your website just like this, with the column layout, and not worry about a mobile design. But now, as web designers, we have to take that into account, since over 50% of people are viewing websites on their tablet or cell phone. So if you want to learn more about responsive design, you can visit the W3 Schools website to learn more about it. But after you complete our projects in the book that have to do with responsive design, you should feel a lot more confident about it. We're also going to be using, there's 3 ways we're going to be doing responsive design. One of those is going to be using Bootstrap, And then one of those is also going to be using CSS to create a responsive website. So you'll have a few different examples of ways that you can build a responsive website. Okay, the next part of this chapter is going to be utilizing jQuery. jQuery is another coding language that is used, and it's called a script. So a script is a set of instructions that perform certain actions in response to an event, generally something the user does, such as clicking an object. Although it was once considered undesirable, JavaScript is now becoming the standard for adding interactivity in websites. JavaScript offers a number of advantages for web developers, including it's supported by all browsers and operating systems. It does not require plugins. Some of you will remember that we used to use Adobe Flash Player to add interactivity to websites. Maybe when you were a kid, you played like those little Adobe Flash games on websites. We've moved away from using Flash now because it required a plugin on the browser, and that plugin had to be updated like very frequently, and so we moved away from using that as the standard, and now we're using jQuery or JavaScript. It allows you to change a web page without reloading the HTML. It can be used to change, remove, or add content to the page. So have you ever been on a website where based on what you select in a form, another section appears or disappears? That's using JavaScript. It can be used to change the CSS that is associated with various page elements. So based on your clicks, you can change the appearance of certain things on the page. JavaScript can be embedded directly into HTML pages using script tags. So we don't have to have external files or separate plugins. And then we can use external files that have the .js extension on them. And that file is a lot like a CSS file. It can link to any HTML pages that require the script. So JavaScript is a little bit beyond, writing JavaScript is a little bit beyond the scope of this course. But we are going to learn how to insert pieces of it into our websites that are pre-built. So we're going to look at some of the pre-built ones: navigation menus, tabbed panel sets, and so on. The code required to create these common objects is fairly complex. However, because they are so common, the necessary code already exists in many libraries, some of which are free, so you can download and use in your own sites. And Dreamweaver actually includes some of those libraries. So JavaScript is not as confusing to learn as other kinds of scripting language, but it still has its own syntax, vocabulary, and logic. Dreamweaver includes a number of tools for adding JavaScript interactivity onto an HTML page without requiring you to write a single line of code. In this stage of the project, you will use those tools to change various page content based on user interactivity and present multiple categories of information in a single HTML page that loads only once in the browser. So if you were going to become a web developer, I would highly recommend learning JavaScript, but we're not going to get into all of that in this chapter. So the jQuery library is built into Dreamweaver, and it allows you to add JavaScript to a page that is already pre-built. Okay, so I'm going to show you an example of that. I'm going to go to Dreamweaver here and open up this blank HTML page. Actually, this is the one I created the form. I'm just going to delete that. Okay. So this is a blank HTML page. If you want to play around with JavaScript that's built into Dreamweaver, you're going to go to the Insert panel, and under the drop-down menu, you're going to go to jQuery Mobile or jQuery UI. Either one of those is going to have some different jQuery elements. So some options you have are like text areas, select boxes, check boxes, radio buttons, sliders. All of those you can place into a form, and it's going to have some more interactivity than the typical form elements. You also have the option to have a JavaScript email field and all of these different things. So try those on your forms and just see how they look different than the regular form buttons. Okay, so go to jQuery UI, and this is where the more complex ones are. So this JavaScript accordion right here is going to create a tagged accordion when I insert it into the page. Okay, so this is a blank page. If I click on accordion, it inserts all of this code right here. Okay, so it's a div called accordion1. It has a header to it for section 1, and then it has content 1, section 2, content 2, section 3, content 3. And then it also added this script tag here, which is linking, all of these links are linking to different files that are required to make the JavaScript library work. So if I were to save this, it's going to ask me if I want to copy all of those supporting files to my local site. So what that means is it's going to copy all these pages that are required to make the tabs work. So jQuery CSS, jQuery theme, jQuery accordion, jQuery min, jQuery UI accordion, all of those are required just to make this tabbed panel work. Okay, so we're going to click OK, and it's going to copy those into my root folder in a folder called jQuery assets. Dreamweaver does all of this for you, so you don't have to do any of it. You just have to say OK. So now I have all the necessary files included and linked to this page to make this accordion work. And I'm going to show it to you in live view. So this is what it would actually look like. So you can toggle open the different sections. Let me think how we do this. Okay, so this is what it would look like in a real preview. So you would click on the next section and it would close the first one, open the second one, and then so on. So you can go back and forth. So it looks really professional. It also has like some animation to it, and you could actually go in and change the colors, and obviously you can paste your own content into it. Okay, so that's the accordion panel. The next one I want to show you is the tabbed panel. So if you click on tabs, jQuery tabs, to insert that, this is what it looks like here. So it's 3 tabs and you can paste your own content into it. And then if I were to preview it in my browser, this is what it would look like. It'll switch to the different tabs. Okay, so all of this is built into Dreamweaver. These are free to use, so you don't have to get licenses or anything like that. You can just use them. They're part of Dreamweaver. You also have a few other date picker, progress bar, autocomplete slider, button. So any of those that you want to use on your sites, you can. Let's see what the progress bar looks like. Sometimes it takes a little bit to figure out like what you need. So the value, let's set it at 60 and see if that looks any different. Yeah, so it shades in the percentage that you put down in the properties value for progress bar. So if your max is 100%, then you can set the value to whatever you want. See what happens if we animate it. Oh, there you go. So it adds like the little spinny bar thing. So if you want to experiment with these on your sites, you're welcome to. You can also Google how they work if you're not sure. And in the chapter, I think they're going to be using the tabbed browser. So you'll get some experience in project 6 with the tabbed browser. So that's a little bit about mobile-friendly site design and jQuery. So you can go ahead and start on project 6.